Look at what I made. This generator might be really loud. Hopefully I can fix it in post. It's like super sunny outside. It's been like raining a lot, so it's probably charging more than it has been over the past couple of days, bringing in a lot of energy. But anyways, I've been creating a lot of work. I've been working on 8 different pieces at the same time. And it kind of works for me as an oil painter. The paints dry slow. While this is taking its time, I'll go hop on to something else. But I also fixed a very crucial part of my process. I don't like sketching. I've never liked sketching, but I've always forced myself to do it because I feel like that's what artists do. But when I am exploring an idea and in the ideation phase, I prefer to write. I've never filled like a sketchbook cover to cover with drawings, like ever. And I was having a conversation with someone about this after an artist talk, and we were looking through their sketchbook, and I was like super amazed by that. And maybe I will be able to get to that point as an artist where I can do that. But it's also okay that my process for kind of, you know, the initial phase of my art is writing and stick figures as opposed to doing full on, you know, detailed sketches of what I want to paint on a larger scale. So now that was like my long way of saying that I just use a projector to sketch my workout because it took me 6 hours. Oh, hold on. I'll show you the one that I've sketched, and then I'll show you the ones that I did not sketch, just to compare. This is the one. It's not finished, but this is the one that I sketched by hand, and it looks great. I like it. And the ones that I used the projector for are basically everything else. This one. So I'm using a projector, and I just, you know, finally gave myself permission to do that. And I think the reason I've been so hard on myself about like doing it the hard way is because of ego at the end of the day. But I've been creating for so long, and I feel like it's important to go through the process of learning sketching, and I will still continue to practice sketching even if I don't use it to basically transfer the image onto the, you know, final piece. So once you learn the fundamentals, like it's okay to make, you know, things easier for yourself along the way, especially with having woodworking as a part of my process now. My process is a lot longer than what it used to be when I would create on canvas. It's very different. And so I've been over time trying to figure out what works for me the best and cutting out the things that I don't like doing. And yeah. So anyway, I created about 8 pieces. They're all still pretty much in progress. And I do have like several bodies of work going on right now. They're not all about the same things. This one, is it this one? Yeah. This one is a completely separate body of work that I've been thinking about. So today I'm going to continue to paint a little bit. I'm going to have to put an apron on because I don't want to mess up this white. I have somewhere to go in a little bit, so I'm just going to get in a quick painting session before I have to leave. So I think, do I want to work on this one? This is the other piece that I'm working on. I will share more about this when I get it to a spot where sharing makes sense, because I don't know what I'm doing right now. Where's my timer? I think my cube is upstairs, so I'm gonna just set a timer on my phone. So last time I was not in the mood to create, really, I was kind of just honestly burnt out. I was in the process of archiving my journals, and I've decided that I'm not going to continue to do that. My initial thought with the whole journal situation, I still want to turn them into art. Like, I stand on that. Like, I'm going to do that. However, the whole process of archiving them. So these are all of the journals that I've archived already. And this is what I have left. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not going to do that shit. I'm not. And I think what led me to do in the first place is because I was unsure about what to do with them. And so I asked, like, other people what they would do with their old journals, and the answer was to keep them. But I like to throw old shit away when it's not useful anymore. Like, I'm cool with letting it go. And I think that's okay. Like, I still want to get back to destroying them, not in a negative way, of course, just to turn them into art. But I had to put it into perspective for myself. Like, I see my journals as curriculum, in a sense, my life's curriculum. I used it to learn and grow. And so I put it into perspective and thought about education, K through 12, even higher education. When you're in school, you're taking notes to learn and practice and retain the information that you're receiving, the new information that you're receiving. And after you've become extremely familiar, I thought I saw a bug. But after you've become extremely familiar with the information, you're not collecting Cornell notes from middle school. You're not collecting the worksheets that you use to learn how to write your name from pre-K. You let that go. You've embodied the ability to write your name. It's seamless. It's second nature to you. And that's how I feel about my journals. I'm going to continue to learn and grow and continue to journal. And so I got to make more space for the new notes, if that makes sense. So I think getting rid of them physically, and also, even holding space for them digitally, feels weird to me. So I'm going back to my plan of just not archiving them at all and just getting rid of them. I appreciate them for serving me for the time that I need or needed. When you learn and grow and you are transforming into a more evolved version of yourself, you kind of want distance from the old shit. I just think it doesn't need to be in proximity to the person that you are becoming. I do think personal history is valuable in sharing it with others. I think about biographies, autobiographies, memoirs. I've read books that have completely changed the way that I think about life through someone else's story and their lessons and epiphanies that they've had. So I do think it's valuable in that way. But I think as a visual artist, the way that I tell that story is through my art. And don't tell nobody, but I also write poetry. I just haven't found an opportunity to share it in the way that I want to share it yet. I do feel like it's coming. And that's one of the ways that I do kind of transform my journaling streams of consciousness into art is through poems. I've shared my poems with a small group of people back in 2022 maybe. I made a private story on Instagram specifically to share my poems. And I thought that was so funny because the first one I shared was trash, and I shared it on purpose. And it wasn't purposely trash. It's just, that's how the poems start out. They're just a stream of consciousness, and it doesn't make sense at all at first. And I make it make sense, and I make it poetic through reading it several times, finding metaphors and things that can get my point across. But yeah, the first one was definitely trash, and I was just testing the waters to see who was going to tell me it was trash or who was going to cheer me on regardless. And I just got to say, some of y'all was fake. Some of y'all was fake, definitely. And then gradually I started to get to the ones that I've spent more time with, and I shared those. And that's where I got a lot of the applause, and people were like, oh, I can see this with, a painting and, all of those things. So I would say I have a good amount of poems. Like I would say 20 to 25 poems that I've written that I feel like they would really be well received as spoken word, but they're more like free form poems. So I haven't really decided what I wanted to do with them. I may very well put them in a book because I don't see myself getting up on the stage and doing no spoken word poetry at all. But yeah, I think there's ways to share my lessons and drop gems and in a way that makes sense for me. Over the past month, I've received a lot of responses from the things that I've applied to, and they've been a lot of no's. And that's just a part of the process. And I'm proud of myself for applying and being very intentional about applying, because I think previous years I was just trying to apply to anything, not necessarily opportunities that I absolutely wanted. So for everything that I've applied to since the beginning of this year, those are all opportunities that I really wanted. And some of them were not a complete no, just a not yet. Like one of the responses I received was they're going to put me in the next round automatically for, and I believe this was like maybe an exhibition proposal. So it wasn't a grant or anything, but they said they would automatically put me in for the next round to be considered. And so things like that, like I appreciate. And it hasn't deterred me at all. One thing about being an artist that I really, really enjoy, especially being an artist within the Dallas community, is how hardworking everyone is. I'm surrounded by a very hardworking group of people they're all doing it for themselves. So by default, they're doing it for everyone else because they're showing us what's possible. And so I say that to say that I'm not discouraged at all, because I've seen, what can be done if you keep trying and if you see yourself somewhere. One person in particular comes to mind, Cameron McLeod from Cure for Paranoia. I had the opportunity to paint him for the Deep Ellum Mural Garden. And I think that was such an interesting experience. One, that man is exactly who he say he is, 100%. And I remembered 2022 was like the first time that I was exposed to him as an artist. And it's beautiful when you see people in their element and they love what they do, and you can like just feel how passionate they are, to the point where it's just like, you're not meant to be doing like nothing but that. And so the fact that he's kept up with his gift and his creativity, his personal story, he tells his personal story through his art. It's such a beautiful thing. It's super inspiring to be rejected from something, like NPR Tiny Desk 3 times, and finally be able to have that opportunity because he believed and saw himself there, to the point where he came back harder every single time. So that's super inspiring. I think Dallas has some really amazing gems within the city, and they're all inspiring me all the time. Like there's so many people within the Dallas community, creative community, that I look up to. I'm coming, as the artist that I am, creating the work that I do, and I can just see myself having certain opportunities. Most definitely will be back, and we'll have a body of work to show for it. The rejections were nice. Like usually, like it feels like a copy paste message, and it probably still is. But I was just like, as I'm reading the emails, I'm just like, you tell everybody that, or just me? Because that was sweet. That was nice, much appreciated. I have a couple of things coming up for me creatively. One of them is an opportunity to do an installation. So I've been thinking a lot about how I want to do that. It would be my first installation that I've ever done. And it would be about my process as an artist. I've identified that writing is a huge part of it. Being inside the mind of an artist is something that I've been thinking about. The mind of an artist is such a very interesting thing because I don't really know how these ideas come to me. The only thing I can pinpoint is that like a lot of the times for the work that I'm like extremely invested in and excited about comes to me through silence and being super like quiet and still in order to receive information. But the other part of my process is a lot of play. Like I'm not extremely rigid when it comes to my creativity. I like to explore, I like to experiment. And that's how I kind of found woodworking in the first place. Like it was through experimentation that I got to this point. And so I don't know, like when I think about the mind of an artist, my mind as an artist is really hard to articulate. And then a lot of the times when I'm creating, I don't have all the information. So when I write things down, it's just kind of writing what I can understand of it, but not necessarily having the full story and not having, like this one back here, I've been sitting on that idea since like mid September, and I still don't have all the information. This is as far as I can get before I receive more, which is probably gonna come to me through silence or just being, because sometimes I'll go outside and I'll have like, I don't know, just experiencing life and I'll have an epiphany about, what I need to do next with my artwork. So it's really hard to articulate what my process is, which is why I'm trying to understand how I'm going to make art about it, if that makes sense. I don't know. One thing that stands out to me the most in my process is the playing part, because I feel like we always have to get back to why we create in the first place. And it comes from a place of just pure love and pure joy. And for me, I think about being a kid and just simply enjoying something and enjoying, creativity, enjoying making. And as you get older, it becomes a lot more complicated when you invite the structures that other people have created for art to operate under. It becomes a lot more complex. And as an artist, unfortunately, depending on how you define your success, you have to operate in both of those worlds. I have to remind myself of why I do it in the first place and get back to the feeling that I felt when there weren't all these hidden rules that exist within arts in the art world. So I have to go back to that place often. I think it's great to have, opportunities and apply to things, but when I receive my no's from other people, I have to sit with the fact that I didn't really start doing this for them anyway. Like it's a bonus if I can share my work in certain ways and have access and opportunities, but always have to come back to being grounded and come back to your why. And the why for me is simply because I love this shit. Like, I really do. I really enjoy it. All right, that's time. Made a good amount of progress. Until next time, bye.